Step into the paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler, brought to you by Paranormal Inc., right here on WLFE DB Radio.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 42.
And happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Happy Mother's Day to all our moms out there. Glad you could join us on this day. If I sound a little funky, I apologize. I'm slowly losing my voice, so I'm going to let him do most of the talking today. That doesn't happen often, does it?
So what are you saying, David?
Nothing.
We have a good episode tonight.
Yeah.
If you recall, we've had both of these guests individually on our show.
Now we're going to go like that.
And bring them together. They are the hosts of Talk and Tech Paranormal Podcast, and they happen to be very good friends of ours. So without further ado...
I'm going to bring the pretty one in first. Oh,
God! Wrong.
He's right. He's right.
I thought you were talking about me. I was already here.
Ernie is there, and I tell everybody that's the cool thing about it is that I love to talk, but I love the tech, but I'm blessed to have somebody so beautiful from the outside as much as the inside, and they're like, you know what? You're right, Keith.
No.
Oh,
well, welcome to the show, y'all. Thank you for joining us on this Mother's Day.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Miss Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm ready for the spring and summer lineup of events and things.
Amen.
I'm ready. We're all out of the house now. I'm ready.
They are starting to pile up already. I don't even know if Dave saw it yet, but last night I already posted an event that we'll be at in 2022.
I saw that.
So I'm like, oh man,
we're already booking them.
I'm still at work writing 2020 on stuff. I haven't even gotten used to 2021 yet. Keith, what is going on in your world, my man?
I will tell you. So, retirement from the fire station doesn't mean that I've stopped all things. Going to be going back doing some teaching pretty soon at the college for paramedic and doing that, and still working another job. Working with some docs, doing some very special stuff. And the fun thing I get to do in my life is get to be with this lovely lady you see on screen. Because as most people, and I mean lots of people in the paranormal know, I am now blessed to get to have someone that really does two things, definitely for sure. Gets to spread the love and light in the paranormal with her beautiful smile. But number two, keeps me in line. How blessed am I to get to have somebody that says, now, Keith, you got to understand, and just kind of make me see things in a way that woo-saws me. And how many early morning talks have we had about a week's worth of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And then you know what? The cool thing about it is, as of today, someone that's I love very dearly in my life, that there was some bumpy turbulence at one time, it's now contacted me and said, Keith, I'm really starting to see things in a light of what I saw you before. And I love you. And let's continue our friendship. So, and so much of it with Kelly, because it's just about woo-saw, get in touch with the universe, relax, and just focus on the good things we do in this business. And also, though, with you, Arnie, I got to tell you, I've said it many times, but I've had many conversations with you as well. And, I cherish them. I talk about Big Brothers, and I talk about, the other people I love, and Kelly's one that, even at the homestead here, has been like, you are a little bit kinder, a little bit not so, I want to kick your ass, that I'm starting to just, it's not worth it. It doesn't, things I can change, things I can't change. So we're having a rocking time on the show. I mean to tell you, I'm so blessed to get to to have that journey. And then even what you're talking about 2022 and other things. I mean, to be quite honest, things for us even are just like a plane on the runway in which direction we go when we take off. I mean,
now let me interrupt for 1 second. For the rest of the conversation, there's two phrases we're not going to use: bumpy turbulence and plane on the runway.
Someone just had his first plane ride. He got his first big boy ride. The pilot or the story flight attendant actually gave him a set of big boy wings.
Oh.
They actually followed him off of the plane to a coffee shop at the
in Chicago. We were in Chicago.
And actually asked him, "Is this really your first flight?" He's like, "Yeah."
They were following. I felt like I was escaping the paparazzi, and it was a stewardess and a pilot. And I'm like, "What did they follow? Like, what did I do?" And
before the flight, I actually sent him like a plane's barrel rolling into the ground.
That's horrible.
Engine fires, pieces of the plane falling off as you're looking up. Me and somebody else kept sending him stuff. I won't mention any names.
Yeah, what's up, Scott?
Scott Porter.
The funny thing is, the amazing journey that we had, and for the good of the cause, while we were in Iowa, we had a lot of people following us, watching our videos and all that good stuff. But it just seemed every comment that come on was like, "I can't believe you got on a plane. I can't believe you flew." So I'm like, everybody knows.
I actually got questions that I hit him with Thorazine or something. I'm like, I really did.
I be honest, I've given up a lot in life because of my phobia of not being able to fly.
Yep.
And to be quite honest, how I did it, I don't know. But
maybe it was me threatening you with bodily injury.
I did it. I did it. It's done. It was worth it 100 times over, and I would absolutely do it again because it was just an amazing weekend.
Definitely.
But I was just joking. You can use any terms you want.
Yeah, his nickname is Crash.
Yeah.
But the only thing I do got to say made me a little, not sick, but kind of threw me into a brief moment of panic is when that plane turned and I felt like, woo, I was like, oh shit, we're going down here. This is out. This is where it ends.
The landing gear came up the first time because you hear that thump and it comes up. His face went. I'm like, dude, that's landing gear. He's like, oh, okay. You sure?
And the scariest part of the journey, we were leaving Chicago to come back home. And we were on a larger plane. And I'm looking out I'm like glued to the window. And all I seen was the end of the wing. As we started to fly, it was going like this. And I'm like, oh my God, it's ready to break off. Like I was thinking, like, I'm going to look out this window and this wing is going to snap off and we're done.
Yeah. They use those for adjusters, those types that flip up and down, and then they pull them straight in. Yeah, those are supposed to do that.
They bought a new pants.
Oh, goodness.
But see, all these little specifics about planes and what they do and, the techniques of flying, I was completely oblivious to any of this. So when I seen like little things popping up on the wings and all, I thought that was it.
You mean those gremlins?
Gremlins were on the.
Everybody's scamming with that kind of shit. I love it.
To worry when the pilot tells everybody, and then he tells the flight attendants, take your seats.
Yep.
Mid-flight, like just out of nowhere. And then he either may or may not tell you, folks, we're about to get into some really bumpy air. I'm going to need you to be seated. When you start hearing his sense of urgency and he's not laughing, hey, folks, I hope you enjoyed your flight. Yep. Sit the hell down and be quiet and just hold on. That's when you go, okay, you can tell his tone has changed. Sit down and hold on. And then you start that, oh, crap. And that thing just starts Bum, bum,
go
bum,
to-
bum, bum.
Yeah,
Bum, bum,
Keith,
bum, bum. Yeah.
you're old enough to remember this. Do you remember an airline called Henson Airline? It was basically a box with a tail fin and two wings. Do you remember those? And a big Right. I was in the Navy in '84. I was coming from Norfolk to here, and we were flying at approximately, I think it was like 18,000 feet. We were low, and we were coming into BWI. And the next thing you see here is, now this is like 12 seats in the plane, and you could see the pilot, his back. There's no door, nothing.
Wow.
And he just turns around and goes, "Everybody, hold on!"
What? No PAs on the plane.
And it goes like straight down like this. It literally felt like we were floating. We hit wind shear, and it hit the top of the plane, and we fell almost 12,000 feet inside of 2 minutes.
Oh, man. He must have had to take a hard dive for some reason.
Well, no, it was literally, we were flat, and the plane was falling flat. The wind shear was coming straight down.
Oh,
When you have a
no.
pilot turn around and go, "Hold on!"
Yeah.
And you hear that thing, there's a thing that goes, "Whoop, whoop, pull up. Whoop,
Pull up. Pull up.
What?
And yeah. I've had some over my time all over the world, but geez, I guess you take the good with the bad, you hope for the best, and you just say that, God forbid, if that's where the day that you have, most of the time you probably have time to say your prayers before you're in heaven, but I've been on some bumpy ones. I've been on some really bumpy
Ernie,
ones.
did you hear that story before you got on the plane, or is this the first time you're hearing it also?
Poor Ernie.
I think that would have deterred me completely from.
Look, the night before we were scheduled to fly out, I got off work at 8:00 that morning. So when I went home, I had only laid down for about 3 hours so I could go to bed that night. So I told Ruby, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go up and just lay in bed until I start to doze off, and then I'm done for the night." You know what I mean? Because I got to get up early because Dave's coming over. So I'm a huge Family Guy fan. Everybody knows that. So I'm laying in bed, and on comes Family Guy. Well, it was the episode where Quagmire were taking them all on a free plane ride, and it crashed. And I'm like, I felt like calling Dave and waking his ass up and be like,
That
"Dave,
day,
I just got my sign. We're not going far."
that day, the cartoon even had you crashing. Man, I got to give it to you. Yeah, wow.
Well, when we were landing in Nebraska, and I could see the ground coming closer, it was like, okay, I can let my breath out now.
The first flight we were on was probably the smallest flight other than that Henson Airline we had ever been on. I was literally like this next to him in the chair.
So it was probably an Embraer 145, right? It was
Really
two on one side, one on the other.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah, an Embraer 145. Yeah, small
Not
jet.
enough room to change your mind in it.
No, if the pilot farted, you'd smell it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, what flavor is that?
Yeah.
All I kept thinking was I was looking around, and there were a lot of children on the flight. And God forgive me, but I was looking around, and I was like, "Oh my God, along with me, all these children are going to die." Like it was terrible, but
he's an eternal optimist.
But it's funny though. I'll leave here and get on my motorcycle and do 100-mile-an-hour home, and that don't bother. You know what I mean?
Well, this show is about something else, paranormal. Why don't we head that direction?
Well, you guys were almost investigating to find me. Tell us, Keith. Tell us, Kelly. Who came up with the brilliant idea for this amazing podcast that you guys are hosting?
Well, so here, in light of things in my past, with every ending, there's a beginning. And I believe so much in a higher power with God and how things kind of come to be. Tim Miley's on there. Bart talk. Spot on. Okay. Well, so as it comes to pass, I realized she liked something one day, and it's like, oh, that's very sweet, Keith. And she is friends with a mutual friend of mine. And I got to thinking, and it was literally just like, yes, Keith, this is your new guest. This is your new host. And I'm like, Well, I literally, I think it might have been a Sunday. I called her and I was like, "Hey, Kelly, it's Keith." "Oh, hi, Keith." So there was that moment, and then I was like, "What's your thoughts about maybe doing maybe a radio show one day or something?" And she's like, "Oh, wow, cool. Well, man, that's kind of a unique timing. I'm going to be retiring here fairly soon." And
14
so,
years.
yeah, and it was like, okay. And I was like, look, you're a sweetheart. Lots of people love you. You bring a perspective. I have a little bit of a perspective. I mean, collectively we sell, individually we fail. And so I thought, how about we just do something totally different? Maybe with the show, something fun, something just lighthearted, and just let's look at it. See what your thoughts. And you have total with what you thought you want to do. Let's just go with it. And next thing you know, it just kind of just started like a delicious recipe or the new greatest rock song. Boom. Here we go. So
We just had a comment pop up, Keith, and said, "Does Kelly not know about wearing a ball cap?" Kelly, you're in luck, my dear.
oh, wait a second.
I have a female version of the Paranormal Ink ball caps. I will get one to you.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
DeVille.
DeVille's. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew somewhere. Sorry, it's been a long day.
And Keith, your hat's still sitting there, ready to go. It's just I haven't seen you yet. I probably won't see you till the bash.
Well, we'll be. Yeah, I'd love to come out with a gig with you guys, with y'all. It's like that rocks too. But oh yeah, geez. And I do speak of a lot of times a man of many hats, but between the hats that I wear, I take each one of them, really seriously. Firefighter, fire captain, the paranormal, hunting. I'm a big outdoorsman. Occasionally I post about that. And then,
you see this one?
oh yeah. And there you go. Right. So, and God love our country, the prayer, the flag. And so, and so I speak of that a lot, but it's just because I think that the hat that we have on our head, when I talk of this and you do see those posts, that we do what we do in the paranormal and we have pride in it. Whether you're an investigator, you do what Kelly does, and she tries to have a whole nother insight as to what.
You got a whole site altogether. I don't know how that works, but she's amazing.
And then it's been so far just a magical, cool little thing of how she has her perspective on things, and people will say, "Oh, that's a Kelly question," and then occasionally you will see me put out some text stuff on there along, and then say, "Hey, if you'd love to talk about that and maybe talk about the paranormal, please come and enjoy our show." People do ask me a lot about tech. It's because I have a passion for it, right? Evidence-based practice. I believe that the equipment that we use plays a part in how the investigation comes together as a whole. So I'm real big about that. And Kelly has been like, that's Keith's thing. I mean, he loves that. He's actually pretty smart about that stuff. And boom, we just don't get it. It's so fun that Kelly's about just the love and light and so nice and calm. She's geared me to be that way, and man, it helps a lot. So we've had a blast so far.
I think it's cool that's like, we really have. I think it's cool that's like validation when you do an investigation, when you use equipment with sensitives, with other means and methods, because once you all kind of team up and that aligns, it's pretty powerful evidence in my mind. Especially when you, like, I prefer to know as little about a place as possible to go into it. So if you're in there with people with equipment, I think it's really enlightening when you can have things line up and not try to do that.
Exactly.
It's funny you bring that up, because over the last weekend, when we were hosting the investigation in Malvern, we got there the night before. We spent all weekend with Josh Hurd and Tori Smith, and Josh took us to Malvern, and we were the only ones there. So, since we've never been there, we basically just went in and, ran around the mansion, and he was like, this is this room, this is that. We were getting a crash course on the Malvern Manor.
Right.
So anyhow, we really didn't. I mean, we had the basic knowledge of the manor,
Some of the stories,
but not
it.
the
The
real
whole thing,
specifics.
Right.
And it's so funny because they were filming a documentary film during the event based on the manor, Malvern Manor. And, throughout the evening, when we would take a break, I would say, hey, Josh, this is, on spot evidence that we're certain of. This is what we've got. This is what I encountered. And he was like, oh, man, you have just got to get in contact with Dustin Pari. And I'm like, why? And he goes, well, I mean, we all know Dustin had an event there last year. He goes, your evidence is just exactly what Dustin came up with. And, I haven't spoken to Dustin about what he got there. And I didn't know anything about what he got there. No one told us. But it's, when you're exactly right. When your evidence starts to line up like that, and it's amazing. You know what I mean? Dave had a for instance, where he was in a threshold of a doorway between a hallway and a room, and felt someone over his left shoulder.
Go like this.
So I immediately put my FLIR camera on him.
Wow.
And I held it so that the guests could watch the screen. You literally saw a hand and a head peek around the wall and freeze.
Wow.
And I was able to get a still shot of it on the FLIR camera.
And as I turned my face, it started petting further and further back like this. So as I looked around, it's like right here.
Yeah. So I was able to actually, because it did it twice. I tried to get a still shot the first time and I missed. It went back around the wall. It come around again and I was able to get it. So that was pretty compelling. You know what I mean?
That is, and tying those two together with that physical kind of environment to where you felt it, or and then you were able to document it with that picture. It's something I've been really, me and Tony Rothman, I've spoke to him many times about. I'm a big light anomaly guy, and what part do they play in the paranormal? And so you actually had some sort of a humanoid type, apparition or something interacting with you, and then you felt it. That's amazing, and that's really compelling type evidence that you're able to document that puts us that next level of how we're finding stuff in this field. That's just amazing. That just
you ever been to Malvern, Keith?
I've never been there, and but I will tell you, it's one on the list of places that people have said, Keith, you got to go. It's a target-rich environment. You're not going to have a problem getting your trophy.
They had this hallway that they called the Shadow Man hallway.
Yeah.
We did a preliminary on Friday, got some really good evidence. We haven't posted it yet. But Saturday, we were talking about before the show that he turned me into, a certain person from a show and said, hey, go knock on that door down there in the dark room. Well, it's so dark. I'm literally have my hand on the wall. And I know that there's 3 rooms till I get to the door. The first 2 are open. The last one's the door. Hit room 1, clear, and I'm like just following my way down the hallway. Room 2, clear. Just as I'm passing room 2, it felt like 2 hands pushed me in the back. And I went tripping forward, and there was a toy that somebody left on the ground that made noise. I tripped over it, and it went off.
Well, let me reiterate that so people don't get this confused. The toy was literally about
right where the door was.
1.5 feet in front of Dave. So Dave actually, because I saw this because I was laughing as you went because you looked terrified going down the corridor.
I don't want to do this.
What we were trying to do was draw the Shadow Man out of the room that it said he stays in. So we were doing our best attempts without provocation to get him to show himself. So I said, hey, Dave, why don't we do this? If I want you to come out, I'm just going to come down and go and knock on your door. Go knock on his door and see if he wants to come out.
And I'm like, okay.
Now, as Dave's making his way back to the whole toy thing, the ball was about 1.5 feet in front of Dave. So whatever pushed Dave caused him to stumble forward. Once he stumbled forward, he kicked the ball like he was kicking a goal.
Oh, my God.
And when that toy lit up and started going, he just...
Scooby-Doo! Where are you?
He let out a scream that I was like,
now,
what in the hell is he doing?
Josh and Richard were just coming in with their big camera because they were walking through all the woods filming and heard me scream like a wench. I'm telling you what. I'm like, mother. I went walking out. Now, Richard says something to me on my way by, and I'm like, yeah, and I just kept going. He was not in my head at all. I just walked by. I'm like, let me just get out of here a minute.
The funny thing, when after Dave dried himself off and made his way back up the hallway, I went down. I was like, man, let me go knock on this man's door and get him to come out. Now, the door had about a crack this much because they had it padlocked, but it was enough where you could get one eye in. So I got my little flashlight, and Josh is filming for the documentary, and I'm trying to look in or whatever, but just on the other side of that door, this is what I heard.
Wow.
Like somebody was almost hiding from me. But I don't know if he captured it on film or not, but I literally heard a man breathing coming through that crease in the door.
The door across the hall from that is completely locked off from the inside and outside, and you can see feet going back and forth.
Oh, wow.
Now they're locked from the outside.
Yep.
So
that place is like no joke. And same with Villisca Axe Murder House. We went there.
Keith, you would absolutely love Malvern.
Yes.
Because for myself, being a person that doesn't feel anything, walking those hallways and looking in those rooms and seeing those beds and the chairs and the children's toys, it gave you a feeling inside. And the good thing with the way Josh runs it, like at the beginning of the relief project, Tori, Josh, myself, Dave, Richard Estep, we all got up and spoke for a few and addressed the crowd. But Josh said, now look, folks, as you're going along and you're investigating, like you're going to see beds and chairs. And he goes, by all means, lay in them beds, sit in them chairs. It's not like ancient artifacts that we're protecting. Do whatever you want. And that just made people get so into it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And at the end of it, he's having people write down all their experiences, what they saw, where, when, how, for this documentary.
Now, one cool thing that they did during this, because they're doing like an 18-month experiment on the manor, and that's part of the documentary film. Now, what we did was after each hour session, everyone would meet back where we originated and discuss what was going on or what they think they experienced. Well, at one point in the beginning of the night, we were doing a Phasma box session on the second floor. Mm-hmm. Whatever we were making contact with by name was calling for Richard Estep to come up.
Yep.
Literally like three times, I think he called for Richard. Name. Now, we weren't encouraging the crowd they could hear this. Okay.
Right.
So I pulled Richard aside and we actually sent down for him and he come up. And then, when that session was over, I pulled him aside and, explained exactly what happened. So when he started addressing the crowd, and this was very cool. This is what I like because we had a lot of skeptics in the group. We had some that were first timers and we had a handful that they did an investigation now and then on a Friday night. And he said, look, guys, I'm going to ask you something and it's not going to hurt my feelings. We're not going to be upset. But Ernie told me that Phasma box called for me. Who heard this?
Everybody.
Every hand in the group went up.
Wow.
Everyone heard it. So it just gave validation to what I think I heard.
That's a great point. One of the things with Richard is he's he has been to so many locations, not only as part of doing paracons and maybe investigations, but he has a team. And that's another good point. I'm starting to put and tie together people that have teams plus go to paracons. So they're totally, really very active in the paranormal. Is that I believe the spirit world starts to get to know them and trust them. And Richard's here. Talk to Richard.
Right.
Now, I think even with it's somebody who they don't maybe know, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know that. I don't know this person. I don't know." But as you get to be respectful and hello, I come in peace and kindness, then they kind of get to be because they've already are not among the living, and now they're like, I'm going to do things totally different in the afterlife. I want to be able to be treated, respectfully and kind, and not the way I was when I was alive. So I think that's a big part of that. And Richard is such a big, big guy, but he has been out on so many investigations, not only with a team, but at these events, that he just gets to be known. And I think that these spirits are like, hey, Richard's a good guy. Talk to him.
And I know, Ernie, like we've talked about, I know you and I've talked about, it's all about the intention of the investigation too.
Right.
So it's not just the, reason you're going in there and your own intention, but also the intention of the group and what the group's hoping to get out of it and what tools they're using and how they're reaching out to spirit in the respectful way and, that sort of thing. And the charisma of the group really makes for really, really good investigation.
Because one thing I hate, I don't want to say hate.
It's like
one thing that I don't necessarily always approve of is people, sometimes it feels that people treat the spirits or whomever it is they're making contact with like a sideshow. Mm-hmm. And I don't like that because for whatever reason, we're all there not just for the client or to entertain the crowd that bought tickets to investigate. We're there to help and appease the spirit as well. Now, you have some mansions we go to, been going to for years, and we believe, to the best of our knowledge, that we're encountering the same people.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Like I said last episode, those spirits are there for a reason. Mm-hmm. They're not just there to be there. So even though they may enjoy the attention, they may enjoy their story being told. However, even though it's a public investigation, people are paying $35 a ticket for a scare. That spirit still might have a message they're trying to get across. Absolutely. And it's up to us, up to everybody to listen, to try to figure that out. You know what I mean? And Kelly, we talked about, like the success we had at Sam Miller Mansion, where we'll be at again in June. But it was just the energy of the crowd and the direction that the investigation was taken, which I think just brought that house to life. Absolutely. And totally, made the spirits happy that night. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think too, like Keith and I were discussing, any reputable event or any team that's reputable, that's having an event or hosting an event, you can't guarantee that interaction. And that's one thing that, from my purpose of validating spirit, that's what I go to do. You can't guarantee that that's going to happen. You're going to try to engage them in a respectful way, and, approach them with good intention. But at the same time, you can't guarantee that. So I think the best you can do is set that intention before you go in, or with the group. I've done events before too, where people have been extremely disrespectful or shown up under influence, and they've been asked to leave because that would just totally wreck the intention of the investigation. So, Keith, I think that has a lot to do with it too.
I got to touch on something real quick off topic. You brought up, you referenced S-Step as, being this big guy. And it's funny you said that because apparently Richard and I met once before, but for the life of me and being old, I can't remember. I think it was at the Bash. But when we walked into Malvern and we introduced ourselves, and I mean, we knew who each other were, but we were now face to face. And I looked up at him and I'm like, man, I didn't realize you were this big. Like on your pictures and on TV, you just didn't look that big. And he kind of got a kick out of it. But Richard's a big guy, dude, man.
Big dude.
Yeah. So he is a big guy. I'm like 6'5". He's 6'6", or maybe even taller. But one of the things I found, and Kelly was talking about it, and you guys have kind of as well, I've noticed that when we go to these locations, it's not just that we're talking to the spirits attached to that building. I think as we open the door into the paranormal, I have had more times within the last year or so where I've had the people of the event right there in that room's family members start coming through and saying like, "Hi, Kelly." And I'll say, "Wait a second. Is there a Kelly here?" And somebody will raise their name. That's me. And I'm saying, "Oh." And then I'll ask the spirit, "Oh, hi. Can you tell me your name?" And they're like, "Gloria." I said, "Kelly, do you know our Gloria?" And that person will start crying and say, "That was my mom. That's my mom." And it's crazy. I've had that.
We did an event at the Reliance Bar and Grill in York. And everyone that was in the group, except for one person, or no, anyway, majority of the group was people we've never seen, didn't even know their names. And we were running, during one of the experiments, we were on the obelisk. And this obelisk came up with a first name and a last name. Now, it was spelled differently, but it was the name of the mother of one of the girls in our group. First name and last.
That happened to me at Virginia City, and the lady recorded us at Virginia City and our investigation in its own YouTube. And the night before, she had a basically wake up dream. She's sitting on the edge of the bed, and these three spirits basically come to her and says, "You're going to meet somebody. They're going to talk to you. They're going to give you some insight. Listen to them." And it turned out that when she said, "I have to say something before the investigation," that it was her mother that was trying to communicate with her daughter there. And I says, "Who is it that you're trying to talk to? Who's the person?" And for the first time, I don't get this a lot in this at an event, she actually told the daughter's first name and last name. And all 12 of us in the room were like, "Whoa, God." And then the rest of the time, the uncle would come through. He stepped forward and he was like, hi, Susie. And then, "Oh, hi, Susie. Susie's here." And then we were just, I asked everybody, "Do y'all mind going ahead and running with this?" They're like, "No, go ahead." And I guarantee, I don't think there was one person, including myself, that left that room after that wasn't crying. And this lady walked up, she gives me a hug and says, "That's so crazy of how my mom had stepped forward and says, you're going to meet this person and listen to them, and then it'll all make sense." And then it was like so dang magical. Again, just something crazy.
Well, this is the way I look at it, Keith. Exactly what you're saying. You know, as investigators, Kelly as a medium, and we're involved with all these public events. When we do these events, or whether we're doing a private investigation, we're there for that client, okay, that calls us to investigate their home, their business, their land, what have you. When we're doing the public events, you know, we're there to most of the time try to communicate with the resident spirits for the people that, you know, paid money to come investigate. Now, back in 2018 at World's Largest Ghost Hunt, I had a group of people out in the field, okay, in Gettysburg. And all the responses that I was getting was directed personally toward me.
Wow.
Now, everything's recorded. We have the proof of everything. But one of the people asked me, you know, "We're in Gettysburg. Like, why is this coming at you?" And I looked at it like this. You know, we spend most of our time trying to help other people, right, or entertain other people. Maybe, just maybe, someone on the other side has a message for me that I've been tuning out or ignoring because we're always doing it for other people. You know, maybe there was something this time they needed to get to me. And what better time than when I'm focused and in the zone, hoping to communicate. And come to find out, a few days after, I found out like my dad's health took a turn for the worst. So, you know, was it someone saying, hey, this is a good time to get the message to Ernie because he's listening, but for whatever reason, that session was directed personally toward me. And then, like I said, 3 days later, I got some news in real life that kind of added up to what I got. So,
and I think it has to do with your mindset too. A lot of times you get those messages or those things come through when you're doing a task that just comes naturally to you and your mind's kind of on autopilot. So whereas you were talking, the people through the experience, you're probably using the same verbiage that you normally use, or you're kind of validating for them and that sort of thing. But that's often the time when you'll get those messages for you, whether it be using technology or otherwise.
Right.
Your mind's kind of at the right wavelength for all that stuff.
Right.
So
See, what you do would drive my brain nuts. I'm a 1, 2, 3 person. If it doesn't work, try it again. 1, 2, 3. If it doesn't work, try it again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that didn't work. Move on to new. You're gonna get put everywhere, and I'd be like,
Yeah, I don't. It's funny because we know, and we all know the same people, but all the mediums and psychic mediums that we know and work with and speak with and interview, everyone's kind of like real chill and mellow. And could you imagine this maniac sitting next to me being a medium as hyper as he is? The smoke would be coming out of his ears like in an old fashioned
I already know what it's going to do right now. He's right now. I got to get it out of you right now.
He said something. We did a brief episode prior to going live at Malvern last week, and he was talking to someone, and I had come and joined the conversation because I'd stepped away from the program for a minute, and I said something about Dave hears voices all the time anyway, and then you said something that cracked me up along the lines of man, I can't remember what the hell you said now, but anybody watch the interview we did at Malvern prior to the event, and it was something he said about the voices or something, man. I was like,
it's the voices.
And then we had Richard S. step in between us, and we're interviewing him, and you got this face he made at me because we were talking about flying home, and I said this fiery death that I'm about to encounter, and all you see is Richard just go. I'm like, look at me. I'm like, I don't think he. Oh, jeez. But you guys, I've noticed though, being serious, man, you guys have had some really good guests on your program. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of which, we're really blessed to have a very special guest tomorrow. Who do we have tomorrow, Kelly?
We have Mr. Tony Spera tomorrow on the
I
show.
saw that. So all you Annabelle fans, be sure to check out Tony on there.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to him just briefly after this. They've got an event coming up. It's that's going to be special in October with some really cool people that are there. That's a nice thing about the paranormal, right? You got an event out here. You got an event over here. Everybody's, fashions. Maybe here. That's great. Maybe here. At the end of the day, I think everyone's heart still lies at whole, and that's the love and passion for the paranormal. Individually, there may be some little differences, but the reality is that there's good and really some people at these events. Go and support the paranormal. Absolutely. Look at more things as going and getting to meet people, talk to them, learn from them, and I think it's important because I will tell you, I am a big about education and learning. I'm like, really?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Listen, and like, this is what they'll say, this is what I did and it worked for me. Wow. And I'll say, hey, I learned this, from Ernie at an investigation, and it really worked.
Keith, I just said this not long ago on an episode, as long as I've been doing this and for the years now that Paranormal Inc.'s been together and hosting events, and every time, I don't care where we investigate, okay? every time we host like a public investigation, I can honestly say I walk through those doors at the end of the night to go home and learn something new every single time. But the good thing, you were talking about all the events just now. Twice a year, myself and Dave and Anthony and Dina Holmes, we do a free seminar in our home state. Now, every single public event that Dave and I do is either, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Jersey, whatever. In 2 weeks, we are hosting our first public event in our home state, an investigation 10 minutes from our house. And I'm so happy. Like, man, we're bringing it home. We don't have to fly and drive 5 hours. And
the other thing is support the public events, because most of the time it goes to the actual historic foundation.
Yes.
Every time we do a public event with a historic foundation, any of the proceeds, we don't take a cut. We give it directly to them for the preservation of the history and what's happened there.
Now, Kelly, speaking about our hometown event in 2 weeks, you want to give out the information on that?
Yeah, so we're going to Tony DeVille's studio in Baltimore in 2 weeks for an investigation of the studio, and I'm excited. I have not been there yet.
Dave and I investigated there September, Friday the 13th. That's when we got our 13 tattoos.
I got one back here.
And let me tell you what, man, and I'm not saying this to publicize it because the event's already sold out.
Yep.
That place, we investigated it for about 90 minutes.
Ain't no bull.
It was non-stop.
Yep.
So everybody that's going to be there in 2 weeks, you're in for a treat. Also, I spoke to Tony. I actually spoke to Tony on the way over here tonight. We are already arranging a second public investigation at DeVille Inc. It's just we got to get the date right, but we're looking at August before the bash.
Let her finish
the
first. Sorry, we catch people on.
I have a tendency around. Sorry,
I'm excited. That's great. That's wonderful news. I'm excited about it. I'll pick up some things before the actual event usually, so kind of excited about what I'm picking up so far. So I think it'll be good for sure.
And we confirmed today, Kel, because a lot of people were asking me the time. We didn't post the time yet because you have to understand this is a up and functioning and running and very busy tattoo parlor.
Yes.
Right.
The guests can start arriving at 8:30 p.m. We're going to kick off.
If you show up at 8, you're going to get tattooed.
We're going to kick off. Out the door. But we're going to kick the investigation off at 9 p.m. So you can start, he's got a parking lot in the front. Also, you can park around the back. But you can arrive at 8:30. We're investigating at 9 o'clock.
Awesome. I'm excited.
So tell our folks how they can find your show.
You can find us on Facebook. That's the easiest way. Also on YouTube. Under Talk and Tech Paranormal, you just search it. If you go on our Facebook page, you can find us on there. We're on Instagram too. Or it's talkandtechparanormal@gmail.com if you want to email. But online, just our online presence, basic sites, but pretty easy to find.
And when is your show? What days of the week?
So they are every other Monday night. Tomorrow is a show night with Mr. Tony Spira. And then 2 weeks from then, we have who, Kelly?
We have Dina and Anthony Holmes on that night.
Which is going to be bring these. All I'm telling you is bring these. I'm going to be using them. And let me tell you, this show is going to be about their story with what, Dina obviously has been through. And the love and the support from the paranormal. But just those two, I mean, even Anthony's voice, hello, Keith, how you doing? Just so comforting and just like, but wow, what a story of love and light and God and just.
Yep. Amen.
Wow. And they're also going to be at the Warrens Paracon, which is the event that Tony's going to be talking about tomorrow. So that's kind of nice. They'll be able to give their take on that too, and what that's all about, what's going to happen. And we all know and love them. So we look forward to talking to them anyway.
The easiest way for everyone to remember is whenever there's a Step into the Paranormal episode, the very following night is
Talking Paranormal. That's right. And it's 8 p.m.
You're on the same
Standard Time.
Same rotation as us.
Yep. Yep.
And Kelly, what were the times again, Kelly, real quick?
It was 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 7 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
Because Keith and I are in different states. So
Texas.
We have to work it out, you know.
Well, Kelly, you know I'm in a different state too. I'm in a state of confusion.
Yes, but at least we're in the same time zone. But Keith and I are not in the same time zone.
All right.
Keith, we gotta get ready to wrap it up. We have
buddy.
It went so quick. Like
it did.
I thought we were only chatting for about 15 minutes. I look and it's Keith, we will see you at the Bash. I think that's our next time seeing you.
Kelly, we'll see you.
Kelly, see you real soon. It should be at the Bash. She's going to be the margarita.
I mean, the Bash is a lot of fun.
Yeah, gonna be a blast. Can't wait.
Keith,
Steve and Pam.
When we get to the Bash, I will see you at the breakfast buffet.
Yeah, we got to talk anyway because I got to talk to you before then with what Steve was talking about. So we'll talk.
Okay. Yeah, just give me a call anytime, my friend. You know that.
I heard breakfast buffet. That's where my brain stopped.
I know. It's my favorite.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us on.
That crowd that morning, it was me. You weren't there. I don't know where you were. We were at the Bash. It was me. It was Keith. It was Dan Class, Mike King.
Everybody was kind of scattered, yeah.
Oh my God! And it was crazy.
And I wasn't invited.
No,
was
you
there
weren't.
Food left?
I don't know where you were there. You just wasn't there. I don't know.
I probably already ate.
I think you were out. You were out somewhere with somebody. I don't know.
Night, yeah.
Anyway, Keith, we'll see you at the Bash. I got your hat waiting for you. I've had it for a year. And thank you. We appreciate and honored having you on. And call me anytime so we can talk about what you were saying.
All right, buddy. Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks again, guys.
Kelly, we'll see you in 2 weeks at DeVille Inc.
2 weeks.
Thanks for joining us.
Love you guys.
All right, David. Now I forgot. See, this old age. Yeah, it's time for announcements, folks. I can't remember. I got to start writing stuff down. Hey, I got to give a very, very, very special happy birthday to our friend Larry. Larry's birthday was yesterday.
Happy birthday, brother.
Larry was the guy that drugged me to Gettysburg in 2004 on a motorcycle ride where I encountered my first paranormal experience in Gettysburg. So Larry's birthday was yesterday. He actually just texted me during the show. So happy birthday, Larry. Man, I hope you had a good one. You know, let's see. 2 weeks, we got DeVille Inc.
Yep.
And what we're shooting for, I got to check with Tony's manager, but we want to get a second public investigation lined up there just about a week before the Gettysburg Bash. This is what I'm shooting for. It's not etched in stone, but I'm working on it. August, Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
That's what we're shooting for. I got to talk it out with Tony's manager.
And if that happens to happen, by the way,
that's when we were
there on the last Friday the 13th, and he does Friday the 13th a whole series of tattoos. So if you like getting some ink, and it's really cheap too.
Also, check this out. Our good friend Melinda Williams. If you remember a few months ago, Melinda and Rob Yox from the Scholar and the Seer was on our show. Okay. And I did an interview on theirs. Melinda just debuted her line of oils and sprays. So if that's your thing, which definitely mine, she's got them for everything, man.
Awesome.
If you just want to feel good, she's got the oil. If you're about to investigate and you want to protect yourself, or you think it may be something a little dark or demonic, she's got the oil. So find Melinda Williams, or you can just simply contact me and I'll get you in contact with her. Check out her line. You will love it. She sent me a list today. She's got everything, man. And
nice.
So let's show some love and support for our paranormal family. You got Guess who's on our next episode in 2 weeks?
Who's on an Dave speaking, take 2, and action?
I will give you a hint.
Okay.
She was on one of our favorite television shows on the Travel Channel with our best buddy, Mike King.
Does she happen to have red hair?
She does.
She really hot looking?
She is.
And
no, he's not psychic. He knows it's going to be Miss Lori Johnson from Ghost of Shepherdstown. She will be joining us in 2 weeks. Always a great interview.
Definitely.
And once again, before we go, a big, big, big thank you to Tori Smith, Mr. Josh Hurd, Mr. Johnny Hauser. You made our trip amazing. We are going to head back that way in the near future. And we both want to give a shout out to our friends Luke and Lisa from South Dakota that we met while we were there.
Luke and Lisa took some really cool videos of us, and we're still parsing through the evidence.
We still got to get the video Tori took of you.
Yeah.
Tori, you know what I'm talking about?
No, that will not be put in the end of our video.
I won't give away exactly what trauma your eyes will suffer through.
No.
But it was...
I do the video editing. No.
It was a video of Dave trying to squeeze into the attic.
The door is like 3 foot high,
at the
2 foot wide.
At the Velisca house.
And I went over, and apparently I had a plumber behind me or something, and crack kills.
Oh.
So, and they were videoing my butt the whole time. Guys, love you.
See you in 2 weeks.
You've been listening to Step into the Paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler. Thank you for listening, and listen in next week for another topic and more great guests, right here on WLFE DB Radio Network.